అందరికీ నమస్కారం. మీరు వింటున్నారు ప్రవాసాంధ్రుల గుండె చప్పుడు తెలుగు ఎన్ఆర్ఐ రేడియో. అమృతం కార్యక్రమానికి మీ అందరికీ స్వాగతం. ముందుగా ఈరోజు పుట్టినరోజు, పెళ్లి రోజు జరుపుకుంటున్న వారికి నా తరపున, మన తెలుగు ఎన్ఆర్ఐ రేడియో తరపున పుట్టినరోజు, పెళ్లి రోజు శుభాకాంక్షలు. తెలుగుదనాన్ని ముందు తరాలకి అందించాలనే ఆశతో ఇవాళ మన అమృతం కార్యక్రమంలో భారతీయ శాస్త్రీయ సంగీతము మరియు రాగాలు విశ్లేషణతో ఒక వినూత్న ప్రయోగంగా దివ్యామృతం సిరీస్తో మీ ముందుకి వస్తున్నాము. భారతీయ సంగీత విశిష్టతను మనకు వివరించడానికి దివ్య అక్క ఈరోజు అమృతం కార్యక్రమానికి రావటం చాలా చాలా సంతోషంగా ఉంది. దివ్య అక్క is born and brought up in the royal city of Mysore in a culturally rich and diverse environment. She's in a leadership position at a leading management consulting firm. It's truly inspiring that, in spite of her budding career, she continues to pursue her passion in Carnatic music and is even conducting research into Haridasa Sahitya under the guidance of Vidwan Srimati Kamala Pranesh and Sri Venkatesh. Divya Akka is dedicated to promoting Indian culture globally by increasing awareness about devotional stalwarts through digital media and serving in leadership roles in various devotional and cultural organizations. Her dedication and commitment to these noble causes can be traced back to her military roots. Her aspiration is to conduct research into the science behind the healing powers of Indian music and ragas and eventually publish her findings. Well, Divya Akka is here on our show today. So, hi Divya Akka, welcome to Amritam Show. Thank you so much for coming today.
Shri Guru Nama. Hello Amrutha. Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be here. As I said, and in fact in your intro as well, I'm not an expert by any means. Probably I'm in my infancy stage of exploration, but with the blessing of my parents and gurus, I'm glad to share little things that I've learned so far.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you so much again for coming on to our show. I can't wait to share your research and your very, very unique perspective on music with everyone here today. So we know that your main objective surrounds how music is an incredible, great stress reliever, and there's something in it that connects the people and brings them together, right?
Of course, it's a magnet, I call, that can bring people from diverse backgrounds together, and we all might have our own favorites, tunes, styles, ragas, but from the little that I know, music perhaps is the only language that can bring living beings on this planet together, whether it is humans, plants, animals, birds, any other species.
Definitely, yeah. I've always thought about how rich our Indian classical music is, and through your music journey, along with Carnatic music, I know that you're also exploring different avenues of music as well, right?
Yeah, there's so much to it, I can't tell you, and many facets that are yet to be explored and experienced. I truly enjoy my weekly Carnatic vocal classes, and that has helped me how to sing, but it has also inspired me to go a little beyond and deep. So Amrita, when I started, getting interest towards this, I started spending a lot of time reading, listening, discussing with scholars to explore the less known or told aspects of Indian classical music, and gradually I developed a taste for it. I feel it's a treasure beyond measure, be it ragas, scales, emotions, bhavas, the compositions, how it has got localized into different parts of the country and even beyond. And this list can go on and on and on. But one thing is for sure, the Indian classical music perfusion and depth is beyond comprehension.
Yes, you're so right. I mean, even in my experience, like in my music journey, I feel that I'm so blessed to be able to learn such an amazing art. And music has such a rich history, and it began well before our time. Like this classical music came from like king's courts to singing in temples, and now today in our present to mass media and entertainment, it's all in the movies. So I know that your research in music really surrounds how like the science behind the art and the healing effects and the different vibrations from our classical music. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. And I know this whole conversation is so interesting. From what I know, there's hardly any culture in this world that cannot or doesn't recognize and celebrate music and its healing power in some shape or form. References go back to the biblical times, and in fact, the ancient medical science in India, which is Ayurveda, also had an exclusive branch that uses music therapy to heal body and mind ailments. So Raga Vidya or Nada Yoga are like the backbone of music therapy. And of course, it was prevalent in ancient times. Yet again, I see that it is gaining popularity in the modern times. But despite all this, numerous scholars, doctors, musicians, musicologists have dedicated themselves to research and practice this physiological phenomenon.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think Ayurveda, even though it's such an ancient form of like medicine, it's still coming back today, and that's so incredible to see. I had one quick question. So sometimes when I listen to a certain tune or a certain song, even if it's like the very first time I'm listening to it, sometimes I feel as though I've already heard that song before I already know that song. Is there like a specific reason or a science behind that?
There is, and that's an interesting question. So, Carnatic music has evolved over centuries to have its own distinct sense of melody, rhythm that draws listeners from across the globe. From ragas to talas, everything in between, Carnatic music started as a devotional music or a forum for showcasing devotion, but has evolved into a preferred medium of self-expression. While there were several ways to categorize Indian classical music and its heritage, one of the ways by raga or what know as scale in the western side of the country or the part of the world. As you may know, ragas follow a hierarchical pattern. It has a parent and a child kind of relationship and have defined set of swaras or notes that typically permitted. When these swara combinations come together, they result in a pattern and they become the signature of raga itself. So composers and music stalwarts have explored umpteen ways to bring out the beauty of the swaras. Now, when you hear songs that follow the same swara patterns, you can easily guess the raga based on its signature and what we call as lakshana and chalan in Hindustani.
Wow, that's a very interesting explanation. I never thought of it that way. Well, there's so many different ragas in our Indian classical music, and I'd love to like delve deeper into some of these ragas and maybe even sing some examples of our favorite songs that are in these ragas. So through our Divyamritam show, I hope we can explore these different ragas that evoke these different kinds of emotions.
Of course. Why don't you and I start, talking through some of these? And maybe let's start with something that's more relatable. Do you know why doctors typically advise anyone to sort of eat chocolates when they're sad?
Um, that's an interesting question. Um, Maybe because like it really uplifts your mood and makes you happier, I suppose.
You're absolutely right. Do you know what's the chocolate in Carnatic music? It's called Anand Bhairavi Raga.
Yeah. Ananda Vairavi. It's one of my favorite ragas actually. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the background of Ananda Vairavi?
For sure. It's a Janya Raga. That means it's a child raga. It is categorized in two different ways based on how musicians take it. Some of them categorize it as 20th Melakarta Raga under Nata Bhairavi. Some categorize it under Karahara Priya. But it's a Bhashanga Raga. It means it inherits swaras beyond its parent raga. It is a Vakra Shadava Sampurna Raga in the way it is structured.
Yeah. I love hearing about like the background of ragas and the I just think it's very interesting to see like all of the swaras and if it's vakra sampurna. I think that's really cool. So what makes this a vakra or asymmetric raga? Ka?
Yeah, so if you look at this, Amrita, the Swarasthanas and the notes, I'll probably sing the Arohana and Avrohana for you, and you can observe the the positions G and R in the whole scale, and then you can figure out this vakra. Sagari, sagari, ga, ma, pa, da, pa, sa, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, ri, sa. You see how G and R sound?
Yeah. So it's like switched almost.
Yeah, there's a to them, so they basically don't come straight. So there's a little bit of vakra or a tilt to it.
Yeah, I know especially when we sing or whenever we sing any of these like ragas that have a lot of like different swarasthanas, my music teacher, she almost relates them to like marbles, like a marble shaking in a box. I think that's a really cool way of saying it. Well, these are the swarasthanas of the Ananta Bhairavi raga. So how does this like relate or translate to like the signature patterns of like music in general, and how does this relate to like raga and thala?
Yeah, before I go there, I want to say Anand Bhairavi itself is one of the ancient ragas in Carnatic music. And in olden composers and saint poets were very well versed with Carnatic music and used to create composition with a raga and tala in mind. Not like now, where we basically translate to anything and everything. Something that gel well with the lyrics, meter, emotion, feel, bhava. So if you go back to those compositions, you'll always notice that there's a raga and tala associated to it. Since then, our music schools, gurus, musicians have followed that precise raga and tala that came along with the composition, which has immensely helped us preserve the originality. For example, have you ever heard Marugelara being sung in anything other than Jayantashree or in beyond Sri Raga and Kereya Niranu, which is one of the basic components of music in anything other than Malahari? Paluke Bangara, another classic composition in Telugu other than Anand Bhairavi. These days, I do know that modern musicians want to bring variety, experiment with styles, so they try to incorporate classical composition in different ragas and styles and to localize the roots. But coming back to your question, legendary Carnatic musicians and regional composers have genuinely invested a lot of time in unpacking Indian ragas, such that no two compositions of the same composer or even are in the same raga follow or sound similar. However, their ability to create different permutation combinations of those swarasthanas is beyond even descriptive words. And over the years, we have enough compositions that can help us identify those signature patterns or chalan or lakshana that we call. And whenever and anytime these lakshanas or chalans appear in any song, you feel like you've heard it before. So it goes back to your question about what songs sound similar even before you hear it for the first time.
Yeah, for sure. So so you earlier we were saying that Ananta Bhairavi is one of the oldest ragas in Carnatic music. So would you say that a lot of like composers and ragekaras would have used this raga in their compositions? Like, is this like a very popular raga to use?
It is very popular raga, and because this is an ancient raga too, this probably was like heart favorite of a lot of ancient composers. Yeah, go to raga just because the vibration it gives you, whether it is Carnatic music, Trimurtis, Sangeeta Pitamaha, Shri Purandara Dasro, or any other regional composers have leveraged it heavenly, whether it is Tyagarajaru or Sri Annamacharya, Shama Sastri, Muthuswami Dikshita, Chalarama Dasro, Papanasha Shivam, Kannada composers, Tamil composers, to even to an extent of Odisha composers. Can you believe it?
Yeah, that's really incredible. So many popular and very well known like artists and composers have used this raga. That's so incredible. There's like so much history and behind this raga, and that's really amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. So how about why don't you share some like examples of their compositions with us?
Yeah, so I'm going to basically give you like a tour of some compositions and also how Anand Bhairavi has sort of navigated into different regions of India as well. So in that, I'll start with the Karnataka composition, a very simple Gita, and I'll go from there.
Okay.
So I'll start with the scale. In fact, that might be even easier. Sa ga ri ma pa da pa sa sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa. कमलसुलोचन विमलतटाकिनि मरागामिनि हरिहरमध्ये इम्बानन विदुमण्डलरे पालयाच्युत पालयाजित पालया कमलालया लीलया धृतभूधरां हुरुभोदर भजनोधरा रंगबारो पांडुरंगबारो श्रीरंगबारो नरसिंहबारो ആലായതരവേണുമടുത്തോരമ്പലം വീണും ആലിനു ചേർന്നൊരു കുളവും വീണും കുളിപ്പാനായി കുളം വീണും കുളത്തിൽ ചെന്നാമര വീണും കുളിച്ചു ചെന്നാക്കം പൂക്കാൻ ചന്ദനം വീണും പോയ് വാ മകളെ പോയ് വാ പാഹി പാഹി പർവത രാജകുമാരി മരിവേ ഗതി ഈവരും ഏഘന ദിനോ ഏകനിവേക്കി കോരി.
Wow, that was so beautiful, Divyaka. Thank you so much for that. I really like the way how you almost gave us like a tour of India through Ananda Bhairavi, like singing the same raga but in different languages, from Kannada to Odissi to Malayalam. That's so incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And when I was listening to you sing, I caught on to a very similar tune in a Bhadrachala Ramadasu composition called Paluke Bangaramayana. I thought that was so cool. Well, could you tell us some more fun facts about this raga?
Yeah, you were absolutely right on Paluke. I mean, that's one of my favorites too. So, Amrutha, given this is an ancient raga, there were seven composers. I don't think, I can cover all of them. I just handpicked a few to show you the diversity of how it's been adorned in classical music and has got colloquialized in regional music of India, whether it's folk or whether it's the basic root of that region. Now, there are a few other kind of classic examples that I want to just call out. Mari Bebe or O Jagadamba, Rave Magua, Kshira Sagara, all of these are classic compositions. The big fun facts that I want to really call out is the bhava itself this raga brings is Karuna Rasa, Shringhara Rasa, Bhakti Rasa, Vinayam Rasa, and the name itself, as it says, Ananda Rasa too. Now, when can you actually sing it? Because you may know that every raga in India also has a set pattern on when you should be performing it. In case of Ananda, you can do it any time of the day because of the bhava image. In terms of honors of the songs that you typically see where this raga is used is when you have welcome songs, when you want to describe joy, victory, glories of the Lord or anything that is prevalent. So the subject and the glories is where it comes to. The closest ragas are Mukhari and Riti Gauda. There are more as well. Anything that inherits back to the Natabhairavi and Karaharapriya, but Mukhari and Riti Gauda are very close. And another very important thing that I wanted to call out today is the therapeutic effect of this raga. It's one of the popular ragas, and most of the times the doctors advise high blood pressure patients to listen to it at least once a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really amazing. Well, you were saying the closest ragas were Mukhari and Riti Gaula. So in that sense, are you saying they're close in like the bhava or like also like the swarasthanas?
The swarasthanas, they have a different bhava to emit. Of course, Mukhari emits a satire and a kind of sorrow and a pain raga,
Right.
but the swarasthanas are very close.
That's very cool, yeah. So tell me more about the therapeutic effects of this raga, Akka.
You're not going to believe this, but our Indian music research centers have been doing several experiments. Of course, we had this as a branch in Ayurveda, but beyond that, in the modern times, there's been a lot of research efforts that have been put behind this. One of the leading medical schools or hospitals in Kochi, in fact, conducted a study or a research on a sample set of 60 patients who were going through, surgeries or ailments pertaining to stomach. And they did an analysis pre and post the treatment with and without Anand Bhairavi Raga. And they usually had their patients listen to the ones who were exposed to the Raga treatment were going through and listening to Anand Bhairavi once a day or a stipulated time. And the results were astonishing. And you're not going to believe this. It revealed that patients who were exposed to Anand Bhairavi experienced less pain and had faster recovery.
Wow.
There are other studies that also bring out that it can definitely control blood pressure, elevate the happiness and the mood quotient, and even cure stomach and kidney ailments. So it all ties back, and these research papers have been published, and there are more research as I speak. There is even more research that is being conducted to see how this can help and where it can solve, and not just this raga, in fact, other ragas too. So I feel, of course, because this is also treated as a medicine, there is a prescription and a discipline to be followed in terms of who sings, when do you hear it, how do you hear it, how is all the prescription and the therapy performed as well is important.
Wow, yeah. So I mean, as currently in our present day, like these kinds of like high BP, it's becoming more and more common. So these kinds of like fast recoveries and a way to experience less pain is very, very like informational and very important for our audience. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Akka. So I have another quick question. So I know earlier we were talking about the two different kinds of classical music in India, Hindustani and Carnatic music. So what exactly is the difference between the two?
So these Hindustani and Carnatic are two kind of major traditions or genres of classical music in India. They are they're absolutely diverse, especially with the way they were evolved and their with the charm that they have, the way they have evolved over the years. There are fundamental differences from starting from their origin, the construct and the structure of the compositions and the music itself, the style it is rendered, the ragas and the scales, the academic construct of how it is taught to people, and also like the instruments that are typically used when people perform, and the composers and compositions itself. That said, there are some commonalities too.
That's very cool, yeah. So I know, so do you have some like experience in Hindustani as well?
I listen to it. I mean, I'm not going through formal training, but with the help of my research and everything that I'm trying to do, I listen to it because I love that genre as well.
Wow. Yeah,
Also,
that's
and
really interesting because I never had like any or experience like listening or like even like learning Hindustani music, but I hope to learn more about that from you in the future. That's really interesting. So, is there like a raga that brings these two types of music together?
I mean, Indian classical, of course, there are several ragas that have been adopted between the two major schools of Indian classical music, Hindustani and Carnatic. But I want to share one of my most favorites, especially given its interesting background and the depth this raga brings to any composition.
So, yes, of course. Could you sing a few lines?
Let me do this as a trivia for you, Amrita. Let me sing the scale and see if you can guess it.
Okay.
Sari ga ma pa da ni sa sa dha ni pa ma pa ga ma ri sa.
I think the moment you sang the Arohana, I almost got the raga. It's Dadpari Kannada, my mom's favorite raga. We always talk about how like beautiful and how moving this raga is.
Yeah, it's known as, you're absolutely correct. This is known as Darbari or Darbari Kannada as well. It is a Hindustani raga in the Kannada family, brought in to the North Indian music by Mia Tansen himself, a legendary 16th century composer in Emperor Akbar's court. The tradition is reflected in the name itself. Darbar is a Persian derived word in the Hindi meaning court or king's court. It is believed that Mia Tansen used to perform this raga to relieve, rejuvenate Emperor Akbar and all his courtmates and staff after a busy day and schedule. There are some popular songs in this raga too, which are probably like more prevalent in Carnatic music or the South. For example, Chandrachuda, Shiva Shankara Parvati, or Kuniyuta Nadiyuta, or Govardhana, Ramanama Bhajisi. So there are a lot. There are a lot many.
Wow, yeah. So I'm sure a lot of these songs are like definitely built upon or inspired by this raga, right?
Yeah. It is. And in fact, in the previous segment, we saw some amazing examples of how Anand Bhairavi has got localized into different parts of India. In this segment, let's see how Darbari Kannada has made its way to Indian cinema. Let me get us started. In that way, you and I can actually do a little bit of jamming here to see what we know.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
तोरा मन दर्पण कहलाए तोरा मन दर्पण कहलाए भले बुरे सारे कर्मों को देखे और दिखाए तोरा मन दर्पण कहलाए तू प्यार का सागर है तू प्यार का सागर है तेरे एक बूंद के प्यासे हम तू प्यार का सागर है सपा मगम पमारी नी सपा मगम पनी
तड़पाए मुझे तेरी सभी बातें एक बार ये दीवानी झूठाई सही प्यार तो कर मनोहर न हृदय मुनि मधुवनि गामलचिनानन्त रतीवर आतेनलने ತುಮ್ಮೆದವೈತಾಗಿ ಪೊಮ್ಮಂಟ
ಜೊತೆಯಲಿ ಇರುವೆನು ಹೀಗೆ ಎಂದು
ಸ್ನೇಹಿತುರ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತುಡಾ
சின்ன சின்னதாய் கோரிக்கைகள் செவி கொடு சிநேகிதனே
முன்பே வா என் அன்பே வா ஊனே வா உயிரே வா ప్రేమించే ప్రేమవా ఊరించే ఊహవా నేనా అడిగా నన్ను నీవే హృదయం అన్నది ప్రేమించేనా ప్రేమవా ఊరించే ఊహవా ప్రేమించే ప్రేమవా పూవల్లే పుష్పించే
புது வெள்ளை மலை இன்று பொழிகின்றது ஆகே ஹம் கஹா மேரே சாஜனா
तुझसे जुदा कर हो जाएंगे तो खुद से ही हो जाएंगे जुदा क्योंकि तुम ही हो अब तुम ही हो जिंदगी अब तुम ही हो चैन भी मेरे दर्द भी मेरे आशिकी अब तुम ही हो
Who makes my heart beat like thunder कौन है जो दिल में समाया वो झुक गया आसमां भी इश्क नया रंग लाया हर कदम अपना करेंगे ऐ वतन तेरे लिए दिल दिया है जा भी देंगे ऐ वतन तेरे लिए दिल दिया है जा भी देंगे ऐ वतन तेरे लिए झनक झनक तोरे बाजे पायलिया झनक झनक तोरे बाजे पायलिया ताने वरुगिरे. Now I'm going to sing a small bride from one of the classics from the golden era of Bollywood. Here's a sargam from a musical movie called as Bejo Bavra. Re re sadha ni par ma par dha मेरे सा ने सरी ध नी पर मा पर ध मेरे सा.
Thank you so much for this, Divyaka. It was so calming and therapeutic. And now that I think about it, even like the songs that I listen to by so many like famous artists today, like Sid Sri Ram, there's so many songs that I didn't realize before that were in this raga. And I think it's so interesting how it's all connected. And thank you so much for sharing this with us. So this raga is meant to like soothe people, right, Akka?
It is. So it is soothing. And also, you're right, there are so many other compositions. But in this segment, I wanted to at least show you how Darbari Kannada has navigated into Indian cinema. Of course, there are
Mm-hmm.
classic compositions like Govardhana. Yes, this is meant to relax your body, soul, and mind. It's a midnight raga. Mia Tansen used to perform this, as I mentioned it to you, every evening. Not
Mm-hmm.
only to get a nice ambience in Akbar's Darbar and court, but it
Mm-hmm.
also is a very powerful regeneration tonic. And if
Mm.
it can apply for us, then why not we also start practicing this, right? So there's
Yeah.
a lot to it. Even to this day in music therapy, this is used as a de facto prescription for people suffering from insomnia or have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of hypertension. So
Mm-hmm.
interesting raga, both from the depth and also the therapeutic and calming effects it can bring to the table.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Akka, so far, we saw like one of the oldest ragas in Carnatic music, Ananda Bhairavi, which evokes happiness. And we also saw just now a raga that was um, deeply like therapeutic. Well, is there like a raga that takes you into a trance or one that can like evoke deep emotions and feelings?
Let me think. Let me play something for you, and I'll see if you can sort of guess something, or it does that even make sense for you.
Okay,
All right.
yeah.
Any guesses, Amrita?
So when I was listening to it, I almost had like a little vision in my head. It was like almost sunset in like a desert. And I know we usually say earthy tones when we like talk about colors, but this almost gave me like an earthy tone in music, if that makes any sense. So almost like a Middle Eastern vibe.
Oh my God, you're so close. This is an odi in the raga Sindhu Bhairavi.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Raga is a Natakapriya in Karnataka, or it could be in Hindustani, it is
Mm-hmm.
categorized as Hanumathodi, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Harithat. It is often used, especially in the classical Carnatic music. It is typically a raga that we try to use for ending the kacheri or the concert,
Oh.
the raga to conclude an event, because
Mm-hmm.
same vibe that you're talking about, which is taking people to trance or something
Mm-hmm.
that relieve you out of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, let me sing a small composition. While it does the whole, you know, the emotional aspect of it, I also want to showcase you how this raga gives you almost like a freestyle, blank canvas for the performer to actually leverage his creativity to his best. And I
Mm-hmm.
can to you by singing a small uga boga or a composition that is like a 3 to 12 line song that describes different aspects of this raga.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm, ನಿನ್ನ ಧ್ಯಾನದ ಶಕ್ತಿಯ ಕೊಡೋ ಅನ್ಯರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿರಕ್ತಿಯ ಕೊಡೋ ನಿನ್ನ ನೋಡುವ ಯೋಕ್ತಿಯ ಕೊಡೋ ನಿನ್ನ ಪಾಡುವ ಭಕ್ತಿಯ ಸಂಪತ್ತಿಯ ಕೊಡೋ ಚಿತ್ತದಿ ತತ್ವದ ಕೃತ್ಯವ ತೋರೋ ಮತ್ತೆ ತುದಿಯಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಮುಕ್ತಿಯ ಕೊಡೋ ತತ ಮಾಡೋ ಭವ ಕತ್ತಲೆ ನನಗೆ ಮುತ್ತಿದೆ ಆತತ ಮಾಡೋ ಭವ ಕತ್ತಲೆ ನನಗೆ ಮುತ್ತಿದೆ ಹಾಯವದನ ಹಾಯವದನ ಹಾಯವದನ
Wow, Divyaka, that literally took me to like a completely different world, to a almost like in a trance. That was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So what you were saying earlier, I can definitely imagine like how like musicians could experiment with this like in a freestyle construct of this raga. And Akka, this while you were singing, it also reminded me of one of Sri Purandaradasa's compositions, Venkatachala Nilayam.
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is Sindhu Bhairavi raga. So I, in fact, have few more compositions. But did you see the style and the way we could actually blend?
Mm-hmm.
So I have few more that I want to just bring out, and there are some combinations of Carnatic music. There is also one final piece that I want to sing and end this kind of composition examples for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me render a few lines for you to see the variations of how vibrant this raga is. ಮಂತ್ರಾಲಯದೊಳು ರಾಜಿಪರಾರೆ ಸಂತರ ಒಡೆಯನ ನೋಡುವ ಬಾರೆ ಏನು ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಮಲಗಿರುವೆಯೋ ಏನು ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಮಲಗಿರುವೆಯೋ ಶ್ರೀನಾಥ ರಘುಕುಲೋ ಭವದರ್ಭ ಶಯನ ಏನು ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಮಲಗಿರುವೆಯೋ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬನ್ನಿರೋ ಸಂಸಾರದಂಬಲ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬನ್ನಿರೋ ಸಂಸಾರದಂಬಲ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿಪತಿಯ ಸೇರಿ ನೀವು ಸುಖಿಸ ಬನ್ನಿರೋ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬನ್ನಿರೋ ಸಂಸಾರದಂಬಲ ದಯವಿರಲಿ ದಯವಿರಲಿ ದಾಮೋದರ ದಯವಿರಲಿ ದಯವಿರಲಿ ದಾಮೋದರ. Now, finally, a nostalgic one for those who could relate. It is a song that used to be played so many times in our DD national channels to describe unity and diversity. So let me see if people can relate to this. Mile sur mera tumhara, mile sur mera tumhara, to sur bane hamara. सुर की नदियाँ हर दिशा से बहते सागर में मिले बादलों का रूप लेकर बरसे हल्के हल्के मिले सुर मेरा तुम्हारा मिले सुर मेरा तुम्हारा तो सुर बने हमारा.
That's so beautiful, Divyaka. When you were singing Daya Virali Damodara, when you were singing the Damodara part, literally went into a trance because that like deep emotion came in like those swetas you were singing of Sindhu Bhairavi. It was so emotional. So I know we talked earlier about the kinds of emotions and feeling that this raga makes us feel, but what are some of like the medical effects or even the bhava we get from this raga?
And yeah, the bhakti rasa, the devotion, vairagya,
Mm-hmm.
the inate, which is like almost
Mm,
surrender, uh, detachment from everything else, getting into
mm-hmm.
nirvana, trance, calmness. All of this describes Sindhu Bhairavi. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
go on and on. But I would
Yeah.
closest raga to this is the Bhairav raga, not the Bhairavi in Karnataka, but the Bhairav raga in Hindustani is probably the closest.
Mm,
But all of these emotions, if you want to sing, it gets used. And hence, we typically keep this as the last song in any concert because we want to
mm-hmm.
leave that kind of higher note, trance.
Right.
So that they're almost speechless. And I've seen and experienced so many times people are almost into tears when they hear
Yeah.
they perform well in a Sindhu Bhairavi raga.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Divyaka. Time flew by so quickly. So, just to recap, we learned about three ragas today, right? So, we began today's episode with a happy Ananda Bhairavi and then moved to a beautiful and therapeutic raga, Darbari Kannada, and then now to a raga that evokes deep emotions and that moves people, as we saw Sindhu Bhairavi. So, Akka, could you like encapsulate the emotions and the thoughts from today's episode of Divyamritam?
Sure. Would you like to join me?
Definitely.
All right, I'll get us started. Lakshmi Narayana Jaya Lakshmi Narayana Lakshmi Narayana Jaya Lakshmi Narayana Pranapana Vyanodana Samanangala Bhedisu ಘನದಾರಿದ್ರ್ಯದಿ ನೂಕು ಸುಖವೇ ಸುರರೊಳಗಾಕು ಮುನಿ ಜನರ ಸಂಗ ಪೊರೆವರಂಗ ವಿಠಲ ಮುನಿ ಜನರ ಸಂಗ ಪೊರೆವರಂಗ ವಿಠಲ ನಿನ್ನಯ ಮತವೇ ಸನ್ಮತವಯ್ಯ ಪಾಲೊಳಗದು ನೀರೊಳಗದು ಹರಿನಾನಿಂದ ನಂಬಿದೆನೋ ಜಲಜನಾಭ ನೀಟ ಜಲಜ ನಾಭ ನೀಟ ತೆರದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವೆ ನೈಯ ಪಾಲೊಳಗದು ನೀರೊಳಗದು ಹರಿನ ನಿನ್ನ ನಂಬಿದೆನೋ
ಪಲುಕಿ ಬಂಗಾರ ಮಾಯನ ಕೋದಂಡ ಪಾನಿ ಪಲುಕಿ ಬಂಗಾರ ಮಾಯನ ಕೋದಂಡ ಪಾನಿ ಪಲುಕಿ ಬಂಗಾರ ಮಾಯನ
ದುರುಳು ರಕಸನು ತನ್ನ ಶಿಶುವನ್ನು ಪಿಡಿದು ತೋರೋ ಶ್ರೀಹರಿ ಎನಲು ದುರುಳ ರಕಸನು ತನ್ನ ಶಿಶುವನ್ನು ಪಿಡಿದು ತೋರೋ ಶ್ರೀಹರಿ ಎನಲು ತರಳ ಪ್ರಹ್ಲಾದನ ಕರುಣ ವಾಕ್ಯವ ಕೇಳಿ ತರಳ ಪ್ರಹ್ಲಾದನ ಕರುಣವಾಕ್ಯವ ಕೇಳಿ ತ್ವರಿತದಿ ಕಂಭದಿಂ ತೋರಲಿಲ್ಲವೇ ದೇವ ಮರುಕವಾಗದೆ ನಿನಗೆ ರಘುರಾಮಚಂದ್ರ ಕರೆದರೆ ಧ್ವನಿ ಕೇಳದೆ ರಘುರಾಮಚಂದ್ರ ಮರುಕವಾಗದೆ ನಿನಗೆ
ವೆಂಕಟಾಚಲ ನಿಲಯಂ ವೈಕುಂಠಪುರವಾಸಂ ವೆಂಕಟಾಚಲ ನಿಲಯಂ ವೈಕುಂಠಪುರವಾಸಂ ಪಂಕಜನೇತ್ರಂ ಪರಮಪವಿತ್ರಂ ಪಂಕಜನೇತ್ರಂ ಪರಮಪವಿತ್ರಂ ಶಂಖಚಕ್ರಧರ ಚಿನ್ಮಯರೂಪಂ ವೆಂಕಟಾಚಲ ನಿಲಯಂ ವೈಕುಂಠಪುರವಾಸಂ
ಬಂದ ಕೀರುತಿಯಲ್ಲ ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣ ನಿಮ್ಮದಯ್ಯ ಮಂದಮಾನವಗಿದು ಅಳವಡುವುದೇನಯ್ಯ ಆನಂದ ತೀರ್ಥರ ಆನಂದ ತೀರ್ಥರ ಮತ ಪೊಂದಿದ್ದ ಕಾರಣ ಆನಂದವಾಯಿತು ಮನಕ್ಕೆ ಆನಂದವಾಯಿತು ಮನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂದೇಹ ಒಡೆಯಿತು ಇಂದುಧರಾದಿ ದೇವ ಇಂದುಧರಾದಿ ದೇವ ವಂದಿತಾ ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣ ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣ
ತಂಬೂರಿ ಮೀಟಿದವ ತಂಬೂರಿ ಮೀಟಿದವ ಭವಬ್ದಿ ದಾಟಿದವ ತಂಬೂರಿ ಮೀಟಿದವ ಭವಬ್ದಿ ದಾಟಿದವ ತಾಳವ ತಟ್ಟಿದವ ಸುರರುಲು ಸೇರಿದವ ತಂಬೂರಿ ಮೀಟಿದವ ಭವಾಬ್ದಿ ದಾಟಿದವ ತಾಳವ ತಟ್ಟಿದವ ಸುರರೊಲು ಸೇರಿದವ ತಂಬೂರಿ ಮೀಟಿದವ ಭವಾಬ್ದಿ ದಾಟಿದವ
ಗೋವಿಂದ ಗೋಪಾಲ ಗೋಪಿಕಾ ವಲ್ಲಭ ಗೋವರ್ಧನೋದ್ಧಾರಕ ಗೋವರ್ಧನೋದ್ಧಾರಕ ಗೋವಿಂದ ಗೋಪಾಲ ಗೋಪಿಕಾ ವಲ್ಲಭ ಗೋವರ್ಧನೋದ್ಧಾರಕ 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 ಗೋವರ್ಧನೋದ್ಧಾರಕ
That was so beautiful, Divyaka. I wish we could keep on going and continuing this show, but how about we continue this Divyamritam series and celebrate more and more Indian ragas and compositions. Do you have any suggestions for our next journey, Akka?
Firstly, Amrita, I just loved this. I love the cross pollination. I love the Divyamritam in terms of how we can explore the divine nectar. First off, I want to thank you and Telugu NRI Radio for giving me an opportunity to basically feature myself in Divyamritam. Definitely an experience that I would love to cherish forever and see how I can continue to be collaborating with you all to take this to the broader audience and outreach. As far as the theme for next episode is concerned, I'm just thinking to expand beyond what we did today, which is, do you like this classic composition from the Hindustani School of Music? I'm just going to sing a couple lines so that way you can relate to it. Alibela sajana yuri, alibela sajana yuri.
Oh my God, wow. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming on to our show today, Divyaka. It was so much fun having you with us today, and I just learned so many incredible things, and you took us through this musical journey, and it was just incredible. Thank you again for being with us today, and I'm sure our listeners were super moved by the music that you sang and shared with us today. And the song you just sang, it's in I think it's in Ahir Bhairav, right?
That is correct. So it is Ahir Bhairav in Hindustani. Carnatic music refers this as Chakravakam. So let's do Ahir Bhairav Chakravakam plus another fine raga that is known to bring out satire. It's we were talking about Hari earlier. So let's pepper in another very deep and emotion-filled raga, Charukeshi, which is basically a pathos. But I think the combination of the three, even though they're similar, like how different and vibrant they are, would be an interesting one for us to navigate for.
Yes, absolutely, definitely. That sounds great. I'm so excited to delve into that journey with you as well. Well, thank you so much, Divyaka, for coming on to our Amritam show today. I can't express how much I'm so thankful for you to come on to our show today and share all of this beautiful music with us. And I can't wait till our next Divyamritam episode, delving into more and more ragas. Thank you so much, Divyaka. So, Divyaka, మీ మాటలతో పాటలతో సమయం చాలా తొందరగా గడిచిపోయింది. Thank you so much again for sharing so much information about our classical ragas and celebrating the mystic, therapeutic Indian ragas in our Divyamritam series. మరి మీరు వింటున్నారు ప్రవాసాంధ్రుల గుండె చప్పుడు తెలుగు ఎన్ఆర్ఐ రేడియో. అమృతం కార్యక్రమం వింటున్న శ్రోతలందరికీ మన ముఖ్య అతిథికి చాలా ధన్యవాదములు. వింటుండండి మన తర్వాత కార్యక్రమం